Hi, this is Kevin from Let Me Tech You, and in this video of this series, we're going to be talking about managing resources in Terraform state. So Terraform stores information about your infrastructure in a state file, and so this file keeps track of resources that are created by your configurations and maps them to anything that you created in your provider, such as Azure, AWS, Palo Alto, whoever you're using. So in this tutorial, basically I'm going to go off of something that I've built, just use some examples from in the registry. And I built a simple network with a Windows virtual machine. And within that, we're going to compare and look at some of the different options you can use to look at your state file and also do things like replacing individual components and things like that. So the state file, whenever you run your Terraform, it creates a terraform.tf state. And you should never manually modify state files because it can cause issues. You can render it useless. And in that case, you may have to actually import everything back in or figure out how to get it back the way it was. So might be worth even having a backup of that if you do try to plan on modifying it yourself. So let's explore this here. So when you first create your state file or your resources, everything is going to be put inside of this here, which is a terraform.tf state. And it can be stored either locally or in the cloud, and that's going to depend on how you set up your Terraform provider block or your Terraform block, whether you're using the backend Terraform cloud or however you're storing it there. But so we're keeping it local here. So what we're going to look at here is the resources. So we're going to look at the resources section and right here. So resources section of the state file contains the schema for any resources that we create in Terraform. So as we can see here, we can see the mode is managed, the type, Azure RM network interface, the name example. We see the provider here. And then we get down into the instances. So the attributes is the applied DNS server, which is none. You can see enable accelerated networking is false. We can get the ID. The IP configuration is stored here. And as you can see, there is some stuff that can actually be kind of, as you can say, sensitive in terms of how your network is set up. So you got IP addresses being recognized here. You have secrets, keys, things like that. So, and a lot of that can be extrapolated. So we have our admin password and clear text here, our admin username. So that's why the TF state also in itself should be looked at as a secure file that you don't want to, have readily accessible by anyone. So another way we can look at our Terraform file here is we can do a Terraform show. And basically that's just going to give us everything we see there in a more easily readable format. And so that just makes it a lot easier to see. And we can also do a Terraform state list. And that's going to list out all of our resources that are defined and built. So that's the kind of the gist of the state file there as far as, as far as you want to go in making sure that things are set up the way they are. There have been instances where I've had to actually manually edit state files to get resources back into where they should be, but you shouldn't have to do that. So if you keep everything built within Terraform, you should never really have to go into your state file, and you also should keep this stored in a remote backend, so that way if you are building resources, there's other team members who can utilize the same state file. So one other thing is replacing a resource. So with the state file, there's going to be ways. So really, there's going to be times where you might need to replace something, but you don't want to affect the entire infrastructure. Um, or you don't want to replace the entire, say, let's say VM or whatever. But so what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually do a Terraform plan replace. So if we go Terraform plan dash help, you can see that there's a replace option. So the replace forces replacement of a particular resource instance using its resource address. If the plan would normally produce an update or no op action for this instance, Terraform will plan to replace it instead. So you can use this option multiple times to replace more than one object. So what I want to do is a Terraform plan. Let's do a replace equals, and we're probably going to need, so what I'm going to replace is the network interface. So I'm going to do Azure RM underscore network interface dot example, which is the name. And then, this is because I didn't put my TFRs in there. So for the value, so this should show that there's going to be one change to my configuration, and then there's going to be one to replace. So as it's refreshing it there, it's comparing it, and then, okay, so now, and so it's saying, okay, this will be replaced. So it's going to create a new one. It's saying it's going to be known after to apply. And it's also going to do an update in place of this. So if I would have done just a normal Terraform plan, it may have not have, it will have not seen a change to take place. So this is a way to kind of force that without having to make any changes to your actual configuration. So with that being said, that's it as far as state files. There's a lot of other things you can kind of get into as far as removing a resource from the state, moving a resource to a different state file. So you got the Terraform state move command. You got Terraform. Just, in reference to that, I don't really get into too much of that, but I would recommend checking out Terraform's documentation in terms of like the state and the CLI and doing some stuff. And there's things where you can do like a Terraform refresh, and that command updates the state file when physical resources change outside of Terraform. So let's say we delete a VM, right? And I want to reference my state file to understand that that's been removed. Well, I can go in and say Terraform refresh, such and such, and then that way it's going to say, hey, there's some changes that's going to be removed, and then it just removes that out. So that's it. And then so Terraform destroy, that's another thing you can do to actually just destroy or approve. That's just going to compare my state file with my configuration in Azure and say, okay, we got 5 resources that needs to be deleted. So once this and I did the auto approve because I wanted to get rid of this anyway. So we're going to see like probably a quick little short blip of the 5 resources to be destroyed. And then that's it. And then once this is done, it's moving a little, there we go. So 5 to destroy. So once that's done, this state file will be blank and nothing in it. So if you have any questions there in regards to that and managing resources in Terraform state, drop me a comment down below and I'll be sure to get back with you. Again, thanks for tuning in. Hope to see you next time.